Hello, my friends out there. I've missed you. I haven't seen you in way too long. I'm Doug, and I'm coming to you from Albuquerque in the desert of New Mexico, and I am also the dyer of Zia wools. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here, and I was looking forward to getting connected with all of you out there. It's been a while because, as you know, I have, or you may know, maybe you don't, I've been to the knitting retreat in Winslow, Arizona, which I've done a couple of times, but of course, all of that before the pandemic. And I'm telling you, it was so incredibly wonderful and beautiful to be back to doing something as nourishing and inspiring as this. At the same time, I was also very grateful to be invited again as a vendor. And I love, of course, when my customers, when other knitters look at my yarn and when they buy my yarn. That's why I'm dyeing yarn. I want to sell it to the world out there. But also I very much enjoy connecting with other knitters. So to talk to you about the yarns and about the different qualities and about what there is, it's just something that I very much enjoy. And ask me any question about any of the colors and about any ideas that I may have about what you could use the yarn for. I'm gonna happily jump into a conversation with you. So that was super wonderful. And also the location is just top of the line because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel with artwork all over. And it's probably hard to imagine, but I will put in a few pictures and a little bit of footage in for you at the end of this podcast. And also you may say, hey, that's been a while. Yes, we traveled some more after the knitting retreat. Actually, we got caught in that snowstorm in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we were stuck there. I mean, not we planned to stay in Flagstaff, but we were stuck where we stayed, which was a little bit sad because, of course, with all the snow there was nothing could be open. And after that, we headed on and spent a week in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it's just, even if you don't gamble, it's this surreal place, which is so cool. And there's so incredibly much to see. Yes, we do not gamble. And still, I love going there. I mean, I wouldn't go there next year again, but because there's so many beautiful places that you can visit. But there's the Mob Museum, a neon museum. There's tons of exhibits. You can go to Red Rock Canyon. You can go to Valley of Fire up north. There's so many exhibits that you can see, bodies, which we've done several times. And if you are in the least bit interested in going to Las Vegas, I would recommend for you to get the Go City Pass if you want to see a lot, because that's what we usually do when we go there. And that offers you it includes a lot of entrance fees to a lot of places. Side note, okay, closed. I may add also a little bit of footage of the rest of the trip that I've been mentioning to the end of the video. But what are we here for? Let's talk about knitting. I have finished, as you may remember, my desert dancer hat. I brought it one last time, and it was just a really nice, it was like you have a baby. Your baby is out in the world, and it made me really happy, and a lot of people really liked it at the retreat. And the other thing that was extremely fun was that, I'm telling you, I wore this a lot because it was cold, and I have never ever gotten this many compliments on a hat as I did for this one. Even from young people. I mean, yeah, thank you. That was amazing. And the other thing that was super fun on the trip was that of course, I mean, we were, it was car trip. It was a car trip. So there's always a lot of knitting in the car because my husband drives. Thank you. And, but for the knitting retreat, I was thinking about teaching a class for the very first time. And I got back into teaching before Christmas when I taught the dye class, which I so much enjoyed. And so I thought, what could I teach? What do I have to offer that I could teach in a mini class of an hour? And for the longest time, I had no idea. And then I thought, hey, the way you do the stitch. And it's essentially what I published on this channel as a technique for the hat. And but of course it's different when you have hands-on opportunity. And so I thought, okay, let's do this. Let's do a little class. And then I thought about what can people walk away with that makes everybody happy, that is doable in an hour. And yes, I can whip out one of these guys in 1 hour, a wrist warmer. But I did not take into account that, of course, somebody who is new to the technique will take a little bit longer. So that was kind of like my not so great planning. But I taught a class for the technique of the twisted stitches that are utilized in the hat, the Desert Dancer hat, and also, of course, then for these little wrist warmers. And you're gonna laugh. About 3 days before the retreat, I thought, hey, I could whip out a fingerless mitt pattern and bring it and teach it with that. I decided not to do that because I made myself a little bit crazy for a whole day. And then I thought, well, wrist warmers, that's the great little thing that we're going to do. So I wrote up a little pattern, which will be yet to be named, by the way, available on Ravelry as a free little pattern. And this is also for DK yarn. And I made 2 before I left, and that I had on the trip. I mean, that I had there to show the students. And I think it's a super fun little project, and I had so much fun with my students. We had a great time, and by the evening, I mean, nobody had a wrist warmer finished by the end of the class, by the end of that hour, which I had totally misjudged. But I said, hey, show me what you have by this evening. And so at dinner, I got a few fists up of people that showed me the finished wrist warmers, which made me so happy. It's just really fun. I made one more that was a little bit different, with a different stitch count and a little bit longer, because of course you can adjust the stitch count and you can adjust how long you make these. no problem. But you know, I've been thinking about the fingerless mitts. I had that in my head and I thought this would be so amazing for a fingerless mitt pattern. I worked on that a little bit on the trip, but I must say if I'm not able to go in between to the computer and to type things up, that's a little bit harder for me. But I wanted to show you where I am right now. And take off these safety pins because I use the safety pins for the thumb stitches. You probably know that I've published a free fingerless mitt pattern on Ravelry. They're called the Duke City mitts for variable yarn weights, and but this is going to be a totally different thing. And my first mitt looks like this, and it is for the right hand. And you are going to wonder, why is it for the right hand? And I'm going to tell you why, because that's how the inside, the palm side of the hand looks like, which I think is such a fun gimmick. They're not as long as maybe some other mitts could be and might be, because with this stitch pattern, it kind of pulls together, and I don't want a length of the fingerless mitt where I have to massively block it. I hope that makes sense to you when I just say that. But just wanted to show you these because I think they're really cute, and I'm going to keep working on them. And goal being kind of having that done in fall. And that's my other one where I still need to weave in the ends. And that was the bag that I had my project in, the wrist warmers and my pattern notes and my needles and my reading glasses, as I see now. And this is the yarn that I use. I have no idea what this was. I think it was a leftover from a hat that I made for my son, but probably I needed 2 balls of yarn and I had quite a bit left over. The other yarn is no clue what this is. I assume that it was a thrifted yarn that where I figured out it's a wool base and I can dye it, and so I did some dyeing just for fun. That was many years ago, because this would not happen to me anymore, that I have a light spot where I had a tie. Thankfully, live and learn. And but the colors and this base is so incredibly lovely. So did I have more? Yeah, this is similar but yet a tiny bit different, more blue. So pretty. And it's a double, 2 strands, but that's how it came. I have no clue where that came from. So that was the first lovely vacation project. And the other one that I really wanted to not give up on was the Hope and Feathers shawl by Mary Annarella. If you've been around for a while, you may remember I was so excited about this pattern and so excited about the stitch pattern and the colors and how it looked like and everything. And as I was in a little bit into the project, I got so bored. Sorry. I did not anticipate that at all. But that's what happened. But I forced myself to stick with it. And by the time I was a little bit farther into the pattern, I mean, you may say, oh, this looks really complicated. It's not at all. And it's also very forgiving when you, if you don't carry your pattern around and you're not sure how to continue, you're going to remember how to do your increases and to create the shape and to not worry about that anymore after a while. And it is done, and I say done kind of like 99.99999% done, because you see that end dangling. A lot of the other ends I've already woven in, but this I still have to do. And of course it needs blocking. And way back when I started, I had blocked that sweet beginning here. But of course, because I crunched it into the bag, it's not blocked anymore. It doesn't look blocked anymore at all. I am really looking forward to finally being able to wear this at the end of the winter, and I think it turned out beautifully, and I love the colors together, even though I sometimes thought a little more contrast here wouldn't have been bad either. I used 3.5 millimeter needles, which is my go-to for fingering yarn. And the yarn is Shawl Sundancer. And I had these two. This one was Desert Vibes, and the other one was Fizzy Lemonade. Could have been Fizzy Lemonade, but yeah. That's how much I have left, and I may have made it a little bit larger, but because it's very long already, I didn't want to use up all of this. I decided against that. Yes, that was that. My travel project, the Hope and Feathers shawl. And then I have worked on my sweater, Il Grande Favorito. I love saying that, even though it probably sounds horrible to any Italian person. I think it's Italian. I think so. Il Grande Favorito, probably Italian, not Spanish. So I used Zauberball together, holding that together with Angora leftovers. I had made that same sweater for my daughter when she left, before she left for Paris. She's doing great, by the way. And I thought, hey, I want another one too, because I have one already, but I thought, hey, why not make yourself another one? And so I did. I call this finished because no ends are hanging off anywhere. However, it was cold on that trip. And so I decided I'm going to do the quick finishing solution. And come on, I know you're there. Where are you? Oh, I did actually better than I remembered. I thought I did already do all of this, but I still have a few ends to take care of. Nobody sees, nobody knows, so shh, don't tell. Yes, I kind of don't even know how I decided how long I want to have it. Let's see, and there's something poking out here. That shouldn't be there. That's the right side. Well, the pattern, back to the pattern. Il Grande Favorito by Isabel Kramer, and I used Angora leftovers in whichever order I wanted to use them, and I had altogether probably 3 Stoppelzauberball, partial, some of those. So I kind of changed the order a little bit in which I used them, because this one, for example, was very pink and purplish, so I didn't want a whole big chunk of the sweater being just pink and purple. And so I may have changed that a little bit, but in the end, as you can see, the Angora was quite overpowering in the look of when I was knitting with the yarns. And the Angora was seriously vintage leftover stuff that I had gotten from my mother a long time ago. Yeah. I used, what did I use? I used 6mm needles, and I modified the way Isabel Kramer suggests, in a way where I did the increases for the body a little bit faster than the increases for the sleeves. Raglan, as you can see, I saved this pink specifically for the neckline because I thought it would look lovely next to the face, you know. And the other little bit of pink went into the bottom ribbing, but that was all of this color that I had. And it covers my butt pretty much. And I did the wide ribbing on the bottom, not so long here. And I have noticed sometimes that this wants to fold out a little bit. It doesn't do it now. Maybe it's more when it's laying somewhere, but and not so much when the weight of the fabric straightens the whole sweater out a little bit. But if that is going to be a problem in the long run, I would probably take that out again and use an even smaller needle for that the last few rounds of pink. I think I went down 1 needle size from 6mm to 5.5mm for the neckline, but not for the sleeves. And also, I thought for a second I had done 1x1 rib on this one and 2x1 on this one. But I didn't. It just looks a little bit wonky because it's a different yarn. For the ribbing at the edge of the sleeves and the bottom, I didn't do that. I used the same needle size because I didn't want the puffy effect. Yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this. I've been wearing it a lot when I run out and I think, oh, it might be a little chilly. I just throw this on and I'm very happy. It's very warm. The Angora is very, very warm. So super pleased with how that turned out. Yes, that was done still. Also, when did I finish the shawl? I think I finished the shawl on the trip as well as the sweater in the past, just toward the end. And then I started the shawl that I showed you, where I was a little bit worried if I wasn't going to be extremely bored. This is actually the one where I thought, oh, this is going to be hardcore boring in the long run, because it's like almost over and over the same stitch pattern. And I'm talking about this. Yeah. I still think this is so classic and a classic design and so gorgeous. It's called Linea and it's by Bergerot. Sorry. See, I know I have glasses here. Said that completely wrong. Bérangère Caillot, I think. Yeah, pretty much. Bérangère. Yeah, so I had this yarn that I wanted to use, and it is my honeysuckle, which is a divine fiber content of superwash merino. I think it's 80 superwash merino, 10 silk and 10 cashmere. I love this yarn. It's very soft and it has a little bit of a sheen from the silk, and it takes dyes up beautifully, and I don't know, whatever I dye up in this looks just amazing. And so I had this colorway, I think I dyed this in May. And it's not a very popular color. I think a lot of people don't like the yellow, but it doesn't matter. I was very glad that I had that still, and so I set it aside then after Fiber Arts Fiesta for myself, and I thought this is the perfect yarn for this project. And I am yet again using 3.5 millimeter needles. And I just keep going, and it's great. It does so far, so good. Knock on wood. Not bored yet. I mean, as much as you get bored sometimes with your knitting project, where you feel the call of something else. Yeah, I'm very happy. So this is still my first ball of yarn, so I want to keep going. I have another one. I didn't bring it. I don't know where it is, probably on the sofa where I knit at night. And I have to say that this project is it took me a little while to adjust to the pattern. There's a lot of pages and the pattern is all written out, and I think she talks about that but whatever. Excuse me. But I had to check off every single row. See my check marks? Yeah. It is, and I'm still checking them off. Yeah, so I don't know. I just want to be on the safe side. At some point at the edge, I lost a stitch and it went down probably about 5 or 6 rows. Yes, so I could not fix that dropped stitch with that. It's kind of like a modified I-cord edging that you knit with those increases and decreases on one side. So I just couldn't. And I'm normally good at stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so that was that. And also, yeah, but talk about boring. I've been really good at knitting monogamously in the past. I don't even know how long, but at some point I'm like, dang, I've become such a boring knitter. I need a little more excitement. I need some casting on and new ideas and a variety of works in progress. And that was mainly after I saw the podcast of this German knitter who has over 50, maybe I'm lowballing, over 50 works in progress. Yeah. I watched her and then I thought, I gotta pick up my game a little bit. So I'm working on what you see, and the linea, that shawl has really has had my attention, and I really wanted to see how the yarn turns out, how it looks like when I'm done with more of that beautiful fabric. So that's all good. But of course I have something new lined up, and I may have even shown you that design last time. It is, I don't know what I wrote down on this paper, but it's a mystery. It was a mystery shawl as it first was published, but I saw this picture and I thought, dang, that is gonna be amazing to just play with colors and have a blast. So I actually started working on this, and then I will show you what happened, because hopefully I did not. And because I thought, I'm going to keep this, I will not rip back, and I will have to show you, because I think it was a very interesting learning experience, which is nice when that happens, even after, you've been knitting all your life and you still can learn things. That's just wonderful to me. So I picked these two colors and I wanted to use them in a section of the shawl that's striped. What do you think? Fine, right? As I started knitting, it looked like I'm not changing colors. So that was my learning experience. And my other learning experience is, do not hesitate to abandon when you dislike. In this case, I don't dislike, but I thought, why would I go through all the trouble of changing colors every 2 rows when and then I don't even see that it's 2 different yarns? That makes no sense. So this is how it looks like. Yeah. And now that I've shown you, I can finally rip back, and I will show you what I will use instead, and I just hope that not the same thing is going to happen that happened right now, because excuse me, in comparison, the 3, instead of this, I want to use this. I will keep using this. And all in all, I don't have a straightforward concept on how I will combine the colors, but I also, and that's the other thing that I probably showed you, I think, last knitting episode. This was a set of mini skeins by Wonderland Yarns, and I found this in Taos several years ago, and it made me super happy because it's one of the bases that was used for this that I also love so very much. And it's my Sugarloaf yarn. Let me show you this again. It has a little bit of variation, and it also will go very well with this. It's not quite the same as this one. The value is the same, but this has more green undertones, whereas this is more of a turquoise-ish blue. Yeah, now I think that's what I'm gonna go to tonight. I haven't even wound this. I think I started tagging this, and then I thought, wait a minute, this would be amazing for this shawl. And let's see. It was a lucky one. See, I even had a tag with this is a one-of-a-kind. This one that I dyed, and this one was a Macintosh Man. I cannot even remember where I got this and when. This has been, I'm very confident this was in my stash for a long time. The colorway is called Spice Wood. And then this one, let's see what this is. And by the way, I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles. Again, no surprise here. Oh, yes. Dream and Color yarn. This is a base with cashmere. Yeah. I think I bought this at the yarn store at Nob Hill. Yeah, this is cashmere and nylon. A little bit different than the honeysuckle that we talked about earlier. Yes, I'm so happy I can start with this tonight. It is, by the way, it's called Take It All. I think it's by Lisa Hannes. Yes, that's what it is. It's a 2016 pattern. And even with a gazillion mini skeins and leftovers, this would be absolutely stunning, I believe. And I actually, now I got an idea. Maybe I'm gonna make two. One with what I pulled out and showed you, and another one with minis, because Selma Knits has she just started a knit along, which is going to go this whole year. I hope I'm not lying, but I think it's going to go until the end of 2023. And I wish I would remember the hashtag. I'll put it on the screen, but you have to use, to participate, you have to use any yarn that is any scrappy bits. I think you could combine them with a full skein, but scrappy bits that have been in your stash longer than 3 years. So that's fun, but I'm telling you, none of my yarns are very young, except for stuff like this. But everything else, this has been, I cannot even remember when I got them. So I'm good with all my mini skeins that I could also work into this and kind of just decide as I'm working which color is going to be next. Whereas for the version with my Sugarloaf yarn, I kind of have a rough draft here with my colors. I mean, I haven't mapped it out completely, but I gave my yarns, I paired my yarns with like whatever it is, C1, C2, C3, and 3, and so forth. Yes, and I brought you something. I wanted to show you something. You know how I always talk about Sugarloaf Mountain, which was the reason why I named my Sugarloaf yarn. And all of a sudden, I mean, we have this giant bookshelf in our hallway, and I'm walking by the shelf and I'm like, there's that card. I should show it on the podcast. So you finally know what we're talking about. This is Sugarloaf Mountain. Yes. This beautiful vintage card. What does it say? Wow. Oh, that's so cool. From the Barnesville Road looking north. And yeah, Barnesville is right there. Loafing Along by Sugarloaf, a poem by Charles H.L. Johnston. Where bold Catoctin rears its peak, where rolls the broad Monocacy, where soaring buzzards quiet seek and mockers swing from bending tree. With droning motor through the glade, we drift where Braddock's army pressed. And cooled by evening's gathering shade, we drowse beneath the mountain's crest. Loafing Along by Sugarloaf. The drone of the engine lulls the ear. Loafing Along by Sugarloaf. Somber hoot of the owl comes near. Loafing Along by Sugarloaf. The harvest moon is smiling down on jagged peaks of Sugarloaf, old Sugarloaf near Fredericktown. That's so cool. I didn't even pay attention that there was a poem on the back, and I certainly didn't look at the back when I pulled the card, this chewed up old thing. All right, my friends, if you want to see, I've brought a few yarns that will be coming to the shop. I still have, and that's why I'm looking over there, the last 3 sets of the Beekeeper mini skeins. They are in the shop right now, and they are going, and I honestly, you know, it's something I've been doing the Beekeepers for a long time, and everybody loves them, but then at some point it's time to let go. So I'm thinking maybe I'm going to say goodbye to the Beekeepers and the specifically also the mini skein sets, as beautiful as they are. Give me a second. This is how they look like. And they have all the Beekeeper colorways in them, and every skein, every mini skein is named with the color, with the colorway. So yeah, 3 still in the shop. ziawools.com gets you to the shop. And what else I have, I've brought you a few. They will be coming to the shop by this Friday. And this is the only one that's already in there. And this is dyed for assigned pooling, which means it is honeysuckle. And if you make any shawl, there's plenty of patterns. Just search for assigned pooling. You will end up with a green base fabric, and you will have the pink clusters as you knit them as you get to them. Yeah. And then what else? There are a few Sugarloaf skeins that will be coming to the shop. Some of my favorites, like this one, is True Love on Sugarloaf, and here I have Angel Wings on Sugarloaf. Oh man, this is very washed out, but it is definitely a little bit lighter than it is on my honeysuckle. Then I have this, which is true. No, this is not true love. This is first love. It's all about the love, right? So here's that other. So, oh yes, I have 3 of the angel wings on Sugarloaf. And Sugarloaf has a wonderful yardage of 560, whereas Sundancer, this one, has a yardage of about 460. Here are my other darlings. I'm so in love with this colorway. I took 2, I said I stole 2 for myself. This is Utah Rocks. Pun intended, if you call that a pun. And I have the same colors also on Honeysuckle. Angel Wings. And again, I think this is slightly lighter. It just happens sometimes because it's speckled yarn. Sometimes it turns out lighter and sometimes a little bit darker. It's not an exact science. And this is True Love because I love the combination of a hot pink and orange, and thus the name. While I was gone, I did not visit any yarn stores. I thought about it, but I didn't. The yarn store in Flagstaff sadly has closed its doors forever, which was especially sad because where we stayed in Flagstaff, Arizona, was really close to that store, so that was sad. But in the end, and that means just here now on Sunday after we got home, I have been shopping my own yarns, so all is well. However, I did want to show you, and I almost forgot, even though it's right in front of my nose, I meant to show you this stunningly gorgeous book that a friend gifted me. And what can I say? For one, so generous and kind to think of me, but also the patterns in this book are just incredibly gorgeous. They do remind me a little bit of the Bavarian twisted stitches cables and stuff. But of course, in the end, a very different aesthetic. So I'm looking forward to working a little bit more with this. I've already gone through, and I will let you know once I'm ready to start something that's related to this book. And to my friend, thank you again. Yes, and this is it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed what I had to chat about, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.